गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव जय बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ वरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ वरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन जनरंजना यमुना तीरवनचारि यमुना तीरवनचारि हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे जय राधा राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय गौरा निताय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय जय गौरा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल जय नित्य गौरा हरि बोल श्री श्री गुणिताय की जय, श्री राधा गिरधारी की जय, श्री राधा माधव की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रमैया की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नारायणं नमस्ते, नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ब्रुवन्तं स्वाकथा कृष्णा पुण्यसर्वनं कीर्तनं हृदयन्तस्थो भद्राणि विदुनोति श्रुतिसतां। नष्टप्रयासु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nar Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mada Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasdev, the author. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotees, cleanses desires for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrit. Srila Prabhupada was again stressing that the devotee is never disturbed, a point that seemed especially relevant in the wake of this morning's interruption. A devotee, Prabhupada explained, is always tolerant. Prabhupada told a story about a great devotee, Haridas Thakur, a contemporary of Lord Chaitanya, who endured severe beatings at the hands of a Muslim magistrate. As Prabhupada told the story, he improvised dialogue. Oh, the magistrate said to Haridas, "You are born in such a nice family and you are chanting Hare Krishna?" And then Prabhupada spoke for Haridas. Say, many Hindus also have become Mohammedan. So if some Mohammedan becomes Hindu, what is the harm? Prabhupada didn't change the pitch or accent of his voice while taking different parts of the dialogue, but with a subtle storytelling art. Each voice became a distinct person. The magistrate spoke threateningly. Oh, you are arguing? Then Prabhupada became a narrator. So it was decided that Haridas was to be punished, give the dog a bad name, and hang it. Then Prabhupada became Haridas's floggers, who despite repeatedly beating Haridas, were unable to make him cry out in pain. Finally exhausted, they spoke up. Say, the idea was that you would die, but now we see that you do not die. So now punishment is awaiting us. Haridas, what do you want? The floggers, we want that you should die. Narrator, then he played himself into samadhi, and the floggers brought him to the magistrate. The magistrate, throw him in the water. Don't put him in the graveyard. He has become a Hindu. Srila Prabhupada concluded his tale. The others were flogging him, and he was chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He was undisturbed. He was steady. Therefore, Lord Krishna says that a person who is spiritually advanced, for him there is no misery, even in this world, and what to do, what to speak of the other world. Let me share this. Okay, so today's reading, Hare Krishna, today's reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 29 talks between Narad and King Prasnivari. Text 81. Prachin Brahi Raj Rishi Praja Sarga Virakshane Adishe Putran Agamat Tapase Kapila Shramam Prachin Brahi Raj Rishi Praja Sarga Virakshane Adishe Putran Agamat Tapase Kapila Shram. Somebody please.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
प्राचीन वरी राजऋषि प्रजा सर्ग अभिरक्षणे अधीक्षा पुत्रान्नागमन तपसे कपिलाश्रम।
Okay, Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'm also
Yeah,
trying.
Prabhu.
Prachin Burhi Rajarshi Praja Sargabhirakshane Adishya Putra Nagamat Tapashe Kapilasrame Sramam Kapilasramam. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम।
Dandavad Mataji.
প্রাচীন বর্হি রাজর্ষি প্রজা স্বর্গাভিরক্ষণে আদিস্বপুত্রা নগমত তপসে কপিলাশ্রমম। হরে কৃষ্ণ।
Hare Krishna. Anybody else there?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
प्रचिन्न बहिराज ऋषि प्रजा सर्गा विरक्षणे अधिष्या पुत्रानगमत् तपसे कपिलाश्रमम। Thank you Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Anybody else, please? No one. Okay, synonyms. Prachin Barahi, King Prachin Barahi, Raja Rishi, the saintly king, Praja Sarga, the mass of citizens, Abhirakshane, to protect, Adishay, after ordering Putran, his sons, Agamat, departed, Tapse, for undergoing austerities, Kapil Ashramam, to the holy place known as Kapil Ashram. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. In the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Prachin Brahi left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapil Ashram. Purport: the word Praja Sarga is very important in this verse. When the saintly king Prachinbrahi was induced by the great sage Narad to leave home and take to the devotional service of the Lord, his sons had not yet returned from their austerities in the Voda. However, he did not wait for them for their return, but simply left messages to the effect that his sons were to protect the mass of citizens. According to Viraghava Acharya, Such protection means organizing the citizens into the specific divisions of the 4 varnas, the 4 ashrams. It is the responsibility of the royal order to see that citizens were following the regulative principles of the 4 varnas, namely Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, and the ashrams, namely Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. It is very difficult to rule citizens in a kingdom without organizing this varnashram dharma. To rule the mass of citizens in a state and keep them in a complete progressive order is not possible simply by passing laws every year in a legislative assembly. The varnashram dharma is essential in a good government. One class of men, the Brahmins, must be intelligent and Brahmanically qualified. Another class must be trained in administrative work, Kshatriya. Another in mercantile business, Vaishyas. And another simply in labor, Sudras. These 4 classes of men are already there according to nature. But in the government, it is the government's duty to see that all 4 of these classes follow the principles of their varnas methodically. This is called abhirakshana or protection. It is significant that when Maharaj Parikshit was convinced of the goal of life through the instructions of Narad, he did not wait even a moment to see his sons return, but left immediately. There were many things to be done upon the return of his sons, but he simply left them a message. He knew what his prime duty was. He simply left instructions for his sons and went off for the purpose of spiritual advancement. This is the system of Vedic civilization. Sridhar Swami informs us that Kapil Ashram is located at the confluence of the Ganges and the Bay of Bengal, a place known now as Ganga Sagar. This place is still famous as a place of pilgrimage, and many millions of people gather there every year on the day of Makara Sankranti and take bath. It is called Kapil Ashram because of Lord Kapil's living there to perform his austerities and penances. Lord Kapil propounded the Sankhya system of philosophy. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Loknath Swamniti Namne Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamniti Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvisese Sunyavadi Paschata Destaren Mukam Karoti Vachalum Pangum Langaradiram Yat Kirpatam Ham Bande Guru Dinatarene Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chaksurumlitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swabdantika Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Tapada Kamlam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Saudutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Jaitam Sruto Pangur Mama Mandamatere Gati Mate Sarvas Padam Bhoja Radha Madana Mohanu Panchakalpa Tarubhayoscha Kripa Sindhu Bhayoyevacha Patitanam Pavan Bhayo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanand Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Srimad Bhagavatam classes. Today's text is Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text 81. Prachin Brahi Raja Rishi Praja Sarga Virakshane Adi Se Putran Agamat Tapase Kala Kapil Ashramam. In the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Prachin Brahi left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapil Ashram. Just recalling that, remember, his sons had gone to do austerities, and remember on the Lord Shiva came in, met them, and gave them the mantras to recite while they are doing their tapasya. And Narad Rishi, from after sending them off, came to meet the king, the father, who was conducting all sorts of sacrifices, animal sacrifices, and he showed them the end result of his sacrifices. The animals were there waiting in the sky for him to die so that they can take revenge. And then after teaching him, he now realized what his duty is, what is the goal of human life. And so he's left everything. Remember, he hasn't waited for another moment, not even waiting for his sons to come back. He has left the kingdom in charge of the ministers and with instructions for his sons what to do, and he has left. For the remaining time, I'd like to just summarize the Sankhya system of philosophy. I don't know how many of you remember that, but there are two versions of this Sankhya philosophy. One is by Lord Kapil, and the other one is also named Kapil Rishi. I'll tell you this difference between the two, why. These are from purports of Srila Prabhupada from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada says this Sankhya philosophy has nothing to do with Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapil. Long before the impostor Kapil's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Lord Kapil, the incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother Devahuti. This is a real Sankhya. This is real Sankhya philosophy. Remember, that's all. We have gone through that in last canto. This is from Bhagavad Gita, purport 239. Prabhupada further says that Sankhya means analytical. Sorry, this is my interpretation. Sankhya means analytical or numerical description of the body and the soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddhi Yoga. This is chapter 2 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapil's Sankhya, as described in Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya of philosophy founded by the sage Kapila is one of the 6 orthodox schools of Hindu philosophy. Here are the key aspects of Sankhya philosophy. Dualism. Sankhya is a dualistic philosophy that posits 2 fundamental realities. Purusha, that's consciousness of spirit, and Prakriti, metta or nature. Purusha is the passive observer, while the Prakriti is the active principle that manifests the material world. According to Sankhya of the numerical philosophy, the material universe is composed of 24 elements. There are 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and 5 subtle elements, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, ears, skin, eyes, tongue, and nose, that's 15. 5 working senses, speech, hands, feet, excretion, and reproduction, 20. Mind, the manas, man, intelligence, buddhi, and ego. Mind, intelligence, and ego. Mind is man, intelligence, buddhi, and ego is hankar. And the Mahatattva is the 24th, the total material energy. 3 gunas, Prakriti operates through 3 gunas, modes, that's gunas are modes of nature. Sattva, the goodness, rajas is passion, and tamas, ignorance. These gunas influence the behavior and experiences of living beings. The last bit was from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 1:5-14. This is a purport by Srila Prabhupada. The 3 gunas, Prakriti, operates through the 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. These gunas influence the behavior and experience of living beings. Just like a woman can have a baby after a man helps make that baby, the world can create things when Maha Vishnu looks at it. This means that everything in the world needs the help of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come into being. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, chapter 9, sloka 10, Maya Dakshena Suvate Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suvate Sacharacharam. Prakriti is the total material energy, works under the superintendence of the Lord. The original source of the material elements is Krishna. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya. So it's the same thing, it's different title. Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Oh, it's the same thing. Sankhya Yoga, Pratyagabhala Prayadantina Panditaha. Bhagavad Gita in the same text, 239. In Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, it is stated that the Lord himself is the compiler of Vedanta Sutra, and he is the perfect knower of Vedanta Sutras. Similarly, the Sankhya philosophy is compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his appearance as Kapil Dev. This material nature, the cosmic manifestation, and the living entities are different energies of the Lord. The material nature has no separate existence without the Lord. Therefore, setting aside the Supreme Lord as the cause of all causes is the logic of Agyalistana Naya. Agya Gala Sthana Naya. Sorry, I got the pronunciation wrong. For trying to milk the nipples of the neck of a goat. The nipples on the neck of a goat may seem like sources of milk, but to try to get milk from such nipples will be foolish. This is from Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada again from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 45. Analytical study of the soul and the body has been, as I said, it's been explained by the Lord in Chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. The material nature, the cosmic manifestation, and the living entities are, remember, the different energies of the Lord. There is an imitation of Kapila, who was a Sankhya philosophical system, who is a Sankhya philosophical system. But the Kapil, the incarnation of God, is different from this Kapil. Kapil, the son of Kardama Muni, in his system of Sankhya philosophy, very explicitly explained not only the material world, but also the spiritual world. Brahma could understand this fact because he is the Swara, almost independent in receiving knowledge. He is called Swarat because he did not go to any school or college to learn, but learned everything from within, because Brahma is the first living creature within this universe. He had no teacher, so he could not go anywhere. His teacher was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who seated in his heart gave him all the information. Brahma acquired knowledge directly from the Supreme Lord within the heart. Therefore, he is called Swarat. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, text, Chapter 24, text 10. Again, this was prepared by Srila Prabhupada. The atheists, the Sankhya philosophers, to consider material nature and source of these elements, forgetting Krishna, like trying to get milk from, as I said earlier, again Prabhupada repeats it. One has to understand everything is by examining its nature and characteristics. This is called acquirement of knowledge. But one should not simply acquire knowledge without reaching the goal of life or the basic principles of acquiring knowledge. That is, the basic principle of acquiring knowledge is getting bhakti yoga. If we give up bhakti yoga and simply busy ourselves in the analytical study of nature of things as they are, then the result will be practically nil. It is stated in the Bhagavatam that such engagement is something like husking a paddy. There is no use beating the husk if the grain has already been removed. By scientific study of material nature is similar to that. So the end result of all this study or analyzing these things should be acquiring bhakti. The Sankhya philosopher accepts three kinds of evidences, namely direct perception, hypothesis, and traditional authority. When such evidence is complete, everything is perfect. The Saktita, performance of energies as the causes of cosmic manifestation. This is from Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 1:6, slokas 14 to 15. The system of philosophy enunciated by Lord Kapila before his mother. The specific significance of this system of philosophy is stated here in Siddhi Bhumim. It is the background of salvation. People who are suffering in this material world because they are conditioned by the material energy can easily get freedom from the clutches of metta by understanding this Sankhya philosophy delivered by Lord Kapil. By this system of philosophy, one can immediately become free, even though one is situated in this material world. That stage is called Jivan Mukti. This means that one is liberated even though one stays with his material body. That happened for Devhuti, the mother of Lord Kapil, and she therefore satisfied the Lord by offering her prayers. Anyone who understands the basic principle of Sankhya philosophy is elevated in devotional service and becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated, even within this material world. This is again purport by Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33, Text 1. Paul further says that Sankhya philosophy is not a new system of philosophy introduced by Kapila as material philosophers introduce new kinds of mental speculative thought to supersede that of another philosopher. On the material platform, everyone, especially the mental speculators, tries to be more prominent than others. The field of activity of the speculators is the mind. There is no limit to the different ways in which one can agitate the mind. The mind can be unlimitedly agitated, and thus one can put forward an unlimited number of theories. So there's no shortage of these theories. You can see that the other theories like Big Bang theory and all the others keep coming up. Prabhupada says Sankhya philosophy is not like that. It is not mental speculation. It is factual, but at the time of Kapil, it was lost. That's again purport by Srila Prabhupada in Canto 3, this time, text 27, chapter 27, 24, and text 37. The purpose of Sankhya philosophy is stated here. If anyone wants real eternal life, he has to engage himself in devotional service. This is the purpose of the Sankhya philosophy. Lord Kapil told us through his mother. So we engage in devotional service of Krishna consciousness. To become free from birth and death is not an easy task. Birth and death are natural to this material body. Sudurjayam means very, very difficult to overcome. The modern so-called scientists do not have sufficient means to understand the process of victory over birth and death. Therefore, they set aside the question of birth and death. They do not consider it. They simply engage in the problems of the material body, which is transient and sure to end. This is on Canto 3, Chapter 24, Text 38, the next one. Prabhupada continues. Sankhya philosophy deals with Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or anyone who imitates the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an enjoyer, and Prakriti means the nature. In this material world, material nature is being exploited by the Purushas, or the living entities. The intricacies of the material world, of the relationship of Prakriti and purpose, or the enjoyer and the enjoyed, is called samsara, or material entanglement. Devhuti wanted to cut the tree of material entanglement, and she found the suitable weapon in Kapila Muni. The tree of material existence is explained in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as an ashwatha, tree whose root is upwards. and whose branches are downwards. It is recommended there that one has to cut the root of this material existential tree with the axe of detachment. What is the attachment? The attachment involves Prakriti and Purusha. The living entities are trying to load it over material nature. Since the conditioned soul takes material nature to be the object of his enjoyment, and it takes the position of the enjoyer, he therefore called Purush. Further, Lord Chaitanya also instructed the mass of people in the Sankhya philosophy of Achinta Veda Ved Tattva, which maintains that the Supreme Lord is simultaneously one with and different from his creation. Lord Chaitanya taught this philosophy through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. He taught that the holy name of the Lord is the sound incarnation of the Lord, and that since the Lord is the absolute whole, there is no difference between his holy name and his transcendental form. This from teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Real knowledge and real liberation is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service. I'll just summarize the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita introduces the theistic element with Lord Krishna representing the Supreme Being. It emphasizes devotional or bhakti to God as a path to liberation. And the Gita integrates various paths to liberation, including Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. And it also gives us practical guidance. Gita provides the practical guidance for living a righteous life and fulfilling one's duty, the dharma, while maintaining spiritual growth. In a sense, while Sankhya focuses on the theoretical dualism and liberation through knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita offers a more integrated approach, combining devotion, action, and knowledge with a strong emphasis on loving devotion to the personality of Godhead. Liberation or moksha is the ultimate goal in Sankhya, is to achieve liberation by realizing the distinction between Purusha and Prakriti. This realization leads to disentanglement of the soul from material world, ending the cycle of birth and death. How we get information and how to tell if it is real or not, Sankhya philosophy accepts three means of valid knowledge. This pratyaksha, anuman, and sabda. The role of devotion in Sankhya philosophy primarily focuses on analytical knowledge. Lord Kapila also emphasizes the importance of devotional service. There is a bhakti to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the means to attain liberation and transcendental knowledge. Just to sum up the main difference between the Lord Kapila and this Kapil, the atheist, they have the same philosophy, all the 424 elements. They add a few more. The difference is that, the main difference is that they do not accept or this Supreme Lord as the Purusha. They want to live without the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the difference between the two. And some people who follow the Sankhya philosophy or the atheist ones is Buddhist, and the What's the other one? Sorry, I forgot. Okay, any comments and questions? Sorry, I gave you a lot of theory. There's much more. Just remind of what Prabhupada said about Sankhya philosophy. Anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavad Pranam, Prabhu.
Thank you so much for enlightening this text 81, bringing about the differences to understand the difference between this Shankar philosophy into terms, one by Kapil Muni itself, and the other one is the atheist. How these two things are separated from each other. And as you mentioned, and Srila Prabhupada also explained, that Lord Kapila, who is the son of Devoti and Kardama Muni, is the real one which actually follows the instruction of the Supreme Lord Krishna. And the other one is one which doesn't follow the path of uh, Krishna's advice. So they're two different things to understand, because they follow the philosophy what Krishna has told us through all the scriptures in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and others, that he is the Supreme Lord and he is to be followed in all respects. And this and Kapil Muni, Canto 3 also uh, describes how this material is formed from Canto 2 and 3. There's all these material elements formation, and how the things how this cosmic world is formed. Is all these things comes under the Shankar philosophy. But overall, we need to understand the originator is only one, is the Lord Krishna himself, in the form of Karanadaksha, in the three forms of Vishnu. He has created everything. So he need to be we need to understand that he is the source of everything and the provider. So once we understand that Krishna is the source of everything through Bhagavad Gita 10:8, then everything sets in order and we understand the flow, and all the literature follows the same principle. So Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing this real Shankar philosophy is that one, to understand it's all the material composition for the formation of cosmic universe is the source, Krishna himself. So if we follow the instruction through Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, we understand is the supreme. From text 1.1.1, it tells everything, is everything. So we need to follow him to understand him properly. There is no other philosophy. There is only one philosophy, that is Krishna has given. And if we look through this Bhagavad Gita, it's the same thing. Arjun also tried to understand from different angle, and Krishna has given so many verses to make him understand that ultimately he understood that he is the Param Brahma, and whatever the instruction he has imparted to Arjun, he finally understood the impact of the advices and surrendered unto him. And then he said in BG 1873, all my illusions is gone. Now whatever you say, I'll just follow. So that should be the attitude of the devotee, to understand who is Krishna and what we need to do. As you mentioned, Krishna and his name are the same. So if we remember Krishna, everything gets set. And that is the only philosophy. So Shankar philosophy, of course, it is a mathematical calculation or astronomical, whatever you say in the simple language. But it is all about how the creation is happened, to understand the supremacy of the Lord. Then only if we know fully of the Supreme Lord, and then only we can understand his own strength and his opulences. So that gives us the formation of humility. And without the humility, you cannot accept him to serve him as a servant. And that is also highlighted in the Srimad Chaitanya Charitamrita, is the same thing. So, whatever the difference between the atheist Lord Kapil and this Shankar philosophy originator Kapil Muni is the two different sides of this coin. So we need to follow the right one which Srila Prabhupada has given us the instruction, and we follow the instruction from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam to understand the supremacy, and we follow the Bhakti Yoga, and the life is set to self-realization, and that is the goal of life. Thank you, Hare Krishna, for enlightening the text so nicely.
Sorry, Prabhu, I missed your point. What were you trying to? Did I miss something?
No, I'm just, you have explained so nicely. It is understanding the two different philosophy. That one is the Buddhist philosophy, and the other one is Kapil Muni's philosophy. It's two different angle of understanding. And as you mentioned, this Bhakti Yoga is similar to the Shankar philosophy, which is mentioned in Canto 3, is the same. Ultimately, understanding the Supreme Lord is the everything of our life. And that gives us the spirituality to understand the supremacy of the Lord and follow His instruction to achieve the final goal of our life. Hare Krishna.
You also remember that whatever I said is the quotes from Srila Prabhupada. I was reading the purpose by Srila Prabhupada, so there, it wasn't any of my views, but mainly recapping what Prabhupada had already mentioned. And the other thing is the Sankhya philosophy is mentioned in Bhagavatam, Canto 3, by Lord Kapila. And remember, Lord Kapila is incarnation of Lord Krishna, so no difference between the two. And Lord Krishna in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned the same thing. So the other thing was that the atheist Sankhya philosophy, they use everything except they do not accept the Supreme Personality. They do not accept there is a God. But everything else is the same. That's why they are called atheists. They remember it's a numerical, it's analyze the 24 qualities item. But you accept that, but for them there is no God. So that's the difference. It's not different in any other way. And remember also, that's a part of Hindu faith. They are Buddhists and Jains use that philosophy.
Yes.
Anybody else? Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Any other comment or question? Okay, then let's round it up. Prachin Brahi Rajarisi Praja Sarga Virakshane Adise Putra Agamat Tapase Kapila Shramam. In the process, or in the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Prachin Brahi left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapil Ashram. Vancha kalpatra vayascha kripa
Sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam
Kuti Vaishnava ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
His grace Rasparayan Prabhu ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.
Hare
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 Hari Hari Bol.
All goes to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.